You know, when you hear the word existentialism, you probably picture someone in a black turtleneck, smoking in a Paris cafe, talking about how life is meaningless. And yeah, that's kind of part of the story, but it's mostly a caricature. Today, we're going to dive into what existentialism is really about, a super powerful, practical, and honestly, an empowering way to think about living in a world that doesn't give us any easy answers.
Okay, so it all starts with a question that, let's be real, every single one of us has asked, maybe late at night, staring at the ceiling, or just in a quiet moment. You look at everything, your life, the world, and you just ask, what is all this for? Seriously, what's the point?
So you go looking. You search for some big, grand purpose, some meaning that's supposed to be written into the stars. You might look at religion or science or whatever, but the universe itself, it doesn't give you a straight answer. It just meets that deep, profound need for an answer with, well, what the philosopher Albert Camus called an unreasonable silence.
And that right there is the starting point for existentialism. It's this clash, this collision between our human craving for meaning and a universe that just seems completely indifferent. That tension is what Camus called the absurd. It's not that the world is absurd or that we are. The absurdity is in that gap between us and it. So, if you're faced with this absurd reality, what do? Well, this brings us to the most central, most radical idea in all of existentialism. And it's a realization that is, well, it's both terrifying and incredibly liberating at the same time.
The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre, he summed it all up with this famous phrase. What it means is that you and I, we aren't born with a predefined purpose. There's no blueprint for what a human is supposed to be. We just show up. We exist first, and then, through every choice we make and every action we take, we create who we are. We build our own essence.
Okay, think about it like this. A pair of scissors. Before it was ever made, someone had the idea of scissors. Its essence, its purpose, its blueprint came first. But for a person, it's the complete opposite. We show up as a blank page. There is no pre-written story. We are the ones holding the pen.
And this is Sartre's big conclusion. We are radically, totally, 100% free. But look at the word he uses, condemned. This isn't some cheerful, easy-breezy freedom. No, it's a burden. It's something we can never escape. Every single moment, we are choosing who to be. And that is a massive, massive responsibility.
So this absolute freedom, it basically presents us with a choice, right? Two main paths we can take. We can either face it head-on and live what the existentialists call an authentic life, or we can try to run and hide from it.
And why on earth would anyone run away from freedom? Well, because the weight of all that responsibility is just terrifying. It creates this deep anxiety inside us. So to get away from that feeling, we start playing these little games of self-deception. We pretend we don't have a choice. We act like we're just objects with fixed roles to play.
Sartre had a name for this whole act. He called it bad faith. It's when you deny your own freedom by convincing yourself that you are your job or you are your social role. It's like you're acting as if the mask you're wearing is your actual face and you forget about the free person underneath.
To really get this, Sartre gave this amazing, classic example. Picture a waiter in a cafe. And I mean, really watch him. He's not just doing his job. He's performing the role of waiter.
You notice his movements are just a little too sharp, a little too theatrical. His voice is a little too eager. He's trying to become waiterness itself. He's trying to turn himself into an object, a waiter, instead of just being a free human being who chooses in this moment to wait tables. He's hiding from the dizzying, terrifying truth that he could, at any second, just drop the tray, walk out the door, and be something else entirely.
And of course, it's not just about waiters. We all do this. I mean, think about it for a second. The perfect employee, the good son or good daughter, the rebellious artist. Are these things really who you are, or are they just roles you play, masks you put on to make that burden of total freedom feel a little less heavy? So what happens if we stop hiding, if we actually choose to be authentic? Well, the existentialists are brutally honest about this. It is not easy. It comes with some really intense, difficult emotions. The first one is what they call angst. And this isn't your everyday anxiety like, oh no, I have a deadline. No, this is a much deeper dread. It's the feeling you get when you truly understand that you, and only you, are responsible for creating your own meaning in a world that has none. There's no safety net, it's all on you.
Sartre used this incredible image to explain it. Imagine you're standing on the very edge of a cliff. The angst isn't the fear that you might accidentally slip and fall. It's that sudden gut-wrenching realization that absolutely nothing is stopping you from choosing to jump. That feeling right there, that vertigo, that's the feeling of your own absolute freedom.
And then there's despair. Despair is what happens when one of those roles we were playing, one of those masks, gets ripped away. Say you define your whole self as a successful lawyer. Then you lose your job. You can fall into despair because you've lost your anchor. You tied your whole identity to something external, and you forgot that you were free all along.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. An absurd world, terrifying freedom, angst, despair. This sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it? But this is the pivot. This is where existentialism gives us its most powerful and, I think, most beautiful answer. It's not about wallowing in all this misery. It's about finding a kind of defiant joy.
This is it, the ultimate question. If we can't just find meaning lying around somewhere, if there's no cosmic plan, then how are we supposed to live? How do you even get out of bed in the morning?
Albert Camus gives us this amazing, unlikely hero from Greek mythology, Sisyphus. He ticked off the gods, and his punishment was this. For all of eternity, he has to push a giant boulder up a mountain. But every time he gets near the top, the rock rolls all the way back down to the bottom. And he has to start all over again, forever.
I mean, that sounds like the literal definition of a meaningless, torturous life, right? A pointless, repetitive job with zero hope of ever succeeding. So how on earth could anyone find happiness in that? And here's Camus' brilliant answer. He says, don't focus on the pushing. Focus on the moment the rock rolls away. Sisyphus has to walk back down the mountain to get it. And in that pause, that walk down, he is fully conscious of his absurd situation. He has no illusions. He has no hope that it's going to change. And in that clear-eyed awareness, Camus says he is stronger than his fate. He owns it.
And this is the breathtaking payoff. His meaning doesn't come from getting the rock to the top. It comes from the struggle itself. By embracing his absurd task, by choosing to push that rock with defiance, he creates his own meaning. In that rebellion, he finds his freedom. He finds his joy. We must imagine Sisyphus happy.
So what's the big takeaway here? Life might not come with a pre-packaged meaning, but that's actually great news. It means we're free to create our own. You're not stuck with a punishment from the gods, but you are, as Sartre said, condemned to be free. So the question existentialism leaves every single one of us with is a challenge. What projects, what values, what struggles will you choose to give your life meaning? What rock will you choose to push?